Welcome to the deep dive. You know, with every huge technology, you think about electricity or the internet, there's always this one moment.
A kind of pivot point.
Exactly, the threshold moment.
Yeah.
The point where the story stops being, wow, look at this cool new thing, and it becomes, okay, wait, who's in charge now?
Right.
And today, November 21st, 2025, it really feels like we've hit that exact day for AI.
It really does. It feels like the whole AI transition just stopped being this theoretical thing about the future of jobs.
Yeah.
And now it's become this structural, right here, right now reckoning. We're seeing three conflicts happening all at once.
Okay, what are they?
You've got massive economic acceleration, an undeniable human cost, and then this frantic policy fight over who gets to control the whole thing.
In that first contradiction you mentioned, it just sets the tone for everything. On one side, tech giants are just flooding the bond market. I mean, taking on billions in fresh debt just to buy the power, the chips, all the infrastructure for AI. They're betting everything on them.
But then, at the exact same time, the wider economy, and even some of those same companies, are pointing the finger directly at AI for huge layoffs.
So they're leveraging up for a future of, I guess, unprecedented profit.
And the very first thing they do with that new efficiency is cut human jobs.
So our mission for this deep dive is to get into those signals, the massive debt, the job losses, the policy fights, to really understand the mechanics of this threshold.
Yeah, we have to figure it out. Who's paying for all this infrastructure?
Who's taking the hit?
And who is scrambling to write the rules before the rules just don't matter anymore?
And the scope is just huge. We're looking at projections for AI capital spending. So that's data centers, power, chips.
All of it.
It's soaring towards $600 billion by 2027.
$600 billion. That's triple what it was just last year. But right next to that number, you have this one, 48,414.
That's the number of U.S. job cuts this year explicitly blamed on AI.
That is the definition of a violent shift.
Okay, so let's start with the money. We're calling this the AI leverage mini cycle. And right now, it is absolutely the loudest signal in the market. I mean, the amount of capital being thrown around it's almost hard to wrap your head around.
This is a 5 out of 5 on our strength index.
Yeah.
The investment isn't just big, it's being financed in a way that's totally reshaping risk. We're talking about the hyperscalers.
So the big players, Alphabet, Meta, Oracle, Amazon, the ones who own the cloud.
That's them. And these few companies have issued about $90 billion in new debt.
$90 billion.
Since September alone.
Wow. In just a couple of months. And if you look at all the AI-related debt this year, it's over $120 billion.
That's how we're paying for this.
Yeah.
We're literally debt funding this entire build-out, pushing toward that $600 billion projection.
What's so interesting to me here is the split. You have this incredible confidence driving the borrowing, but then you have this growing anxiety among financial analysts.
Well, the confidence part is easy to see. You look at a company like Nvidia, which is basically the engine room for this whole thing.
Right.
They're forecasting something like $65 billion in sales for the next quarter. Just stunning numbers. The hardware story, the ability to build the AI is solid.
So if the hardware sales are a sure thing, why are investors getting nervous about the debt?
Because the risk isn't about if the AI will work. It's about when the returns are going to show up.
Yeah.
Investors are asking, is this amazing AI supercycle actually being paid for with a highly leveraged mini cycle? The issue is how fast everything becomes obsolete.
What do you mean?
You spend, say, $500 million on a data center today,
Yeah.
but the chips inside it, they could be basically worthless in 18 months. So if those massive efficiency gains don't arrive right away, that debt gets really heavy really fast.
That makes perfect sense. It's not a slow and steady investment. It's an all-in bet on getting instant returns. And it's not just the giants, right? This money is flowing into very specific automation plays.
Exactly. If you want to see where AI is really landing, just follow the venture capital. We're seeing $50 million go into a company called Norm AI.
What are they?
They're building AI-driven legal services, automating compliance.
Yeah.
Think about law. It's super structured, tons of paperwork. It's a perfect target.
It's the same for accounting. I saw a U.S. startup, Numeric, just raised $51 million.
Right, to automate things like reconciliation, closing the books. If your job is basically checking and aggregating structured documents.
You're the target audience for these new products.
You are. And we're even seeing it in physical logistics. GoPuff got $250 million.
$250 million.
Earmarked specifically for AI-driven logistics. So Yeah. The whole transition is being financed by debt and aimed right at high leverage efficiency gains.
So now we have to turn from that financial boom to the human side of it, the shock absorption. Because while all this leveraging is happening, the other side of the story is the displacement. And this isn't theoretical anymore. This is a solid 4 out of 5 on the signal strength.
The language from executives has completely changed. We are so far past AI might impact jobs.
Right.
Now, CEOs are openly saying they're using AI agents or AI-driven restructuring as the official reason for cutting their workforce. They're not even trying to be vague about it.
And the speed of it is just terrifying. We mentioned almost 50,000 U.S. cuts this year tied to AI, but get this, 31,000 of those cuts
31,000.
happened in October alone. That's an unbelievable spike. It suggests once the AI is turned on, the displacement happens in this huge sudden way.
You really have to just pause on that number. It's,
Yeah.
it's huge. This is AI moving from being a background tool to being the primary driver of corporate strategy. And these aren't just, entry-level factory jobs.
No.
This is hitting white-collar work, HR, legal support, even mid-level programming jobs.
And the political forecasts are starting to reflect that reality. There is a U.S. senator now warning that AI could push overall unemployment into the 10 to 20% range
That's a severe number.
over the next 5 years. And even worse, joblessness among recent college grads, the people who did everything they were supposed to do, could hit 25%.
And when you hear a number like 25% unemployment for new graduates, that's not just an economic problem anymore. That is a social stability problem, a political problem.
Absolutely.
These are the people just trying to get started, and if all the on-ramps to a career are automated away faster than new ones are created, the whole social contract it starts to break down.
But doesn't that sound a little apocalyptic? I mean, historically, new technology has always created new jobs to replace the old ones. Why are the forecasts so dire this time, especially for educated workers?
I think the consensus is shifting because the speed is just so different. It's unprecedented. Past revolutions, the Industrial Revolution, they destroyed manual labor, but they actually increased the value of knowledge work, of cognitive work. AI does the opposite. It specifically targets structured cognitive work, the very thing that gives a college grad their edge.
So the adoption is just outpacing our ability to adapt.
Exactly. The rate of replacement is faster than the rate of retraining or, re-engineering the economy. It really does feel like this time is different.
So let's look at where these gains are actually being put to work. The deployment signal is also really strong, another 4 out of 5, because AI is just becoming embedded infrastructure.
Right. It's not being sold as some shiny new app. It's being sold as the solution to margin pressure.
The fix.
The fix for staying competitive. It's the tool you use to get more revenue out of every employee while also making things more personal for the customer.
Okay, give me an example.
Take retail. The UK fashion company ASOS was facing a 12% drop in revenue. So what are they doing?
They're using AI.
They're using AI stylists. They trained them on a database of 100,000 curated outfits to try and rescue their margins.
Wait, how does an AI stylist fix a margin problem?
They're targeting serial returners. The customers who buy an item in 3 different sizes, try them on, keep one, and send the other 2 back. It's a logistical nightmare, and it absolutely kills profit. The AI stylist gives you a super accurate, personalized recommendation up front.
So you don't need to order a bunch of sizes. You just get the right one.
Exactly. It's AI being used to fix consumer behavior that costs the company money.
That is a really clear example of driving down inefficiency. And you're seeing the same logic in, heavy finance, which you'd think would be slower to adapt.
Oh, absolutely. Speed and cost savings are everything there.
Yeah.
In the mortgage industry, there's a startup called Tidal Wave. They're pitching something called an agentic AI operating system.
Agentic AI. Okay, what does that mean? How is that different from just, normal software?
So normal software does tasks that we tell it to do. An agentic AI is designed to have goals. It can plan a sequence of actions to reach that goal, and it can even self-correct if it runs into a problem, all without a person stepping in every time.
So in the mortgage example.
The goal is originate a loan. The system decides on its own which databases to check, which compliance forms to create, who to contact, and it can originate a loan in under a day.
Under a day.
It's basically automated workflow decision-making. It crushes the timeline, and it cuts the amount of labor you need for each loan.
So whether it's fashion or finance, AI is becoming this fundamental piece of infrastructure. It's not optional anymore if you want to compete.
Not at all. It improves the customer experience and gets rid of the human middleman at the same time.
And this whole dynamic, this massive investment causing immediate job loss, it was always going to spill over into a fight. And that's exactly what's happening with policy. This gets a full 5 out of 5. Policy is the main battlefield right now.
It really is. It's a huge fight over who gets to regulate this. Is it the federal government or is it the states? And it's moving so fast that nobody can afford to wait for some grand national consensus.
On one side, you have the White House, and they are pushing, I mean, really pushing, for a moratorium on state AI laws.
A total freeze.
It's a total freeze, yeah. And they're trying to use some pretty powerful tools to do it, maybe through the annual defense bill or an executive order.
Basically, they want to tell the Justice Department to sue states that create their own rules and maybe even withhold federal money.
And civil rights groups are just sounding every alarm bell they have. They're saying a federal freeze would leave workers and consumers totally exposed.
Yeah, you'd be stripping away local power to set any kind of guardrails, and there isn't even a national standard to replace it with. The fear is that the pace of innovation is being prioritized over the pace of protection.
But hold on, doesn't the federal government usually want strong national standards for big technologies? So companies can operate easily across state lines. Why would they push for a moratorium, which is basically a regulatory void, instead of just creating a light-touch national rule?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yep.
It's about control. A moratorium is great for the big tech firms because it stops a messy patchwork of state laws from slowing them down.
It gives them a free pass at the state level.
The de facto regulatory free zone, yeah.
Mm.
And the incentive for the federal government, from what sources are suggesting, is to maintain maximum speed in the AI race against geopolitical rivals, even if that means sacrificing local protections to do it.
So while Washington is trying to freeze the board, the states are playing defense. We're seeing 19 states now considering their own bills.
19. And they're aimed at curbing how landlords and platforms use this third-party software for things like setting rent.
This is a direct response to what we were just talking about, right?
100%. They're worried about what's called algorithm collusion. This is where, say, a bunch of different landlords all use the same pricing software. The software isn't technically conspiring, but because it's all using the same data and the same goals, it can act like a cartel.
And drive up rents across an entire city.
Artificially. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have the security layer on top of all this. A bipartisan bill from Senators Young and Kelly wants the NSA to write an AI security playbook.
Which just shows you that AI is now seen as critical national infrastructure. You have to protect the supply chains, the chips, the data centers from foreign adversaries.
So you connect all of that, and the legal landscape is just splintering. It's a frantic, multi-level fight for control, economic, consumer, and geopolitical, and it's all happening at once.
Let's shift to the culture for a minute, because the nature of the fear itself has really changed. It has.
Yeah.
The whole conversation is moving away from, fearing the super intelligent machine, and it's moving toward fearing the people who control the machine.
This is such a vital shift in context. The blunt thesis we're seeing cited now is that AI doesn't threaten humanity. Its owners do.
Right.
The public conversation is finally getting past the sci-fi stuff, the rogue AI taking over. Now it's focused on the very real, very immediate incentives of the few corporations and governments that control the giant models and data sets.
So it's a fear of concentrated economic power that's being wielded through code, not a fear of the code becoming sentient.
Exactly. The question isn't, will the AI be good or bad? It's, are the AI's owners incentivized to design systems that maximize their own profit and control?
Even at the expense of social stability or fairness.
Right. The fear is less about the machine running wild and more about the boss using the machine to get absolute power over the employee.
And there's a specific concern that the policy situation, especially that push for a federal moratorium, is just setting us up for the next big social crisis, particularly for young people.
Yeah. Commentators are warning that if the federal government takes away the power of local groups like school boards or communities to set their own guardrails, we're just going to repeat the whole social media disaster.
The AI policy disaster, they're calling it.
We learned some really painful lessons about what unregulated algorithms can do to young minds and to, social cohesion. A federal moratorium basically guarantees a decade of unsupervised experimentation on an entire generation.
So if we pull all this together, if we synthesize this entire deep dive, the real moral question isn't about whether the code itself is moral.
No, the core question is about the distribution of power. Are we going to let AI make existing imbalances even worse? The imbalance between labor and companies, between federal and state governments, between the people who own the data and the people whose lives are being turned into data.
The transition itself isn't necessarily dangerous.
But the path we are currently on, this path of rapid acceleration funded by debt and leading to displacement, that is absolutely risky.
This has been a really comprehensive look at what just feels like a genuine historical pivot. We've laid out all these incredible, visible contradictions.
Yeah.
You have mass job cuts happening right alongside these promises of unbelievable profit. You have the federal government trying to freeze state-level rules while the states are just scrambling to protect people from things like algorithmic price fixing.
And we're seeing AI stylists selling fashion and AI systems that promise a mortgage in a day, all happening in an economy where the entry ramp for a young person into a professional career is being automated away right in front of them.
The mood feels like sober acceleration.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Hey.
The system is speeding up exponentially, but we're being forced to ask the immediate fundamental question of who is actually holding the steering wheel and what are their very concentrated economic incentives.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to take away. Given that all our data today confirms the real risk here is concentrated power, the power of those borrowing billions and automating core parts of our economy, how do we even begin to create a new way to measure the value of the data that citizens are turned into? Especially when that data is the very asset being used to justify the debt, the efficiency, and the job displacement we see today. If data is the new oil, what's the citizen's dividend?
Finding an answer to that question is what will decide whether this whole transition works for everyone or if it just works for the hyperscalers.
Thank you for joining us for the deep dives. We'll see you next time.